It's the very early hours in Kildare town. That hour where the cold bites a little more, the streets stay empty, and everyone moving around feels like they're running on 3 hours of sleep and two bad decisions. On that bus sits Ryan Weir Gibbons, a young man from Kildare. Nothing unusual about him being there. It's a quiet ride through familiar streets, the kind of routine trip nobody expects to remember the next day. A few seats away is an 18-year-old teenager, also local, someone who knew Ryan at least a little. Not a close friend, not a stranger. Just one of those I know that face from somewhere connections that small towns are built on. For a while, everything stays calm. People half awake, scrolling through their phones, minding their own world. Nothing dramatic, nothing tense. Just a group of tired passengers waiting to get home. And then something shifts. Words get exchanged. Nothing about why has been released publicly, but witnesses confirm that the tone changed quickly, the kind of fast escalation that catches everyone off guard. In just a few moments, a normal bus ride turns into a confrontation that nobody expected and one that will change two families forever. If you've ever taken a late night or early morning bus in Ireland, you already know the atmosphere. Someone's half asleep. Someone's talking too loudly. Someone's pretending not to hear anything at all. But on this ride, the shift happens fast. The argument between Ryan and the 18-year-old teen gets sharper. Voices rise. Passengers look up that quiet, frozen moment when everyone senses things are getting out of hand, but nobody is sure what's actually happening yet. Witnesses say it didn't last long, just seconds. A quick, heated exchange that moved from words to a physical moment no one on that bus was prepared for. There are no dramatic details released publicly, and Gardaí have been careful about what they confirm. But they do say one thing clearly. It all happened very quickly. And in those few seconds, the situation crossed a line that can't be uncrossed. Ryan ends up seriously injured. The bus keeps moving, unaware of just how serious things are becoming. The morning that started quietly is now carrying the weight of something irreversible. A normal ride has turned into the beginning of a Garda investigation and the end of life as both young men knew it. Once the bus incident is reported, the Garda move quickly. They begin piecing together the timeline from the moment the argument started to the moment the bus finally stopped. Passengers are interviewed one by one. Every detail matters now: who saw what, who heard what, who stepped in, and who didn't. The Gardaí also pull CCTV footage from the bus, the station, and nearby cameras along the route. In Ireland, that footage can tell the whole story in a way memory sometimes can't. And here's where the first unexpected turn shows up. The investigators identify the 18-year-old almost immediately. Not because of some dramatic detective reveal, but because the two young men already knew each other. This isn't a case of strangers crossing paths. It's the kind of small town connection where names and faces travel quickly. Within a few days, the Gardaí compile enough evidence to contact the teen and bring him in for questioning. It's straightforward, not sensational. They follow the process exactly as they should. Soon after, he appears before the Naas District Court. He is officially charged with manslaughter in connection to Ryan's death. Bail is granted, but with strict conditions, the kind that signal the seriousness of the situation without jumping to conclusions before trial. Two young lives have now moved into the legal system, and the investigation continues step by step to confirm exactly how the night unfolded. News travels fast in a place like Kildare. It doesn't matter what time of day it is or how quietly an incident happens. Once it's serious, everyone hears about it. Friends talk, neighbors talk. Families start asking the same questions. How did a simple bus journey turn into this? Why did things escalate so fast? Could anyone have stepped in? And the truth is, people genuinely want answers. Not out of curiosity, but because the situation feels close. These aren't just names in a headline. They're familiar faces from the same streets, the same schools, the same local spots. The community grief is real. Ryan's passing affects far more than his family. It spreads through classmates, teammates, neighbors, anyone who crossed paths with him. And on the other side, the teenager facing charges now carries the weight of a legal process that could define his entire future. It's the kind of incident that forces small towns to stop for a moment and realize how fragile normal life can be. One quick decision, one heated exchange, 1 minute that changes everything. The Gardaí stress patience and accuracy. They release clear facts and avoid speculation. They confirm the altercation. They confirm the location. They confirm the charge. Everything else stays in the shadows until court proceedings unfold. And with that, Kildare holds its breath, waiting for clarity. There's something about this case that sits in the background, quiet but impossible to ignore. A detail so simple that most people miss it completely, and yet it's the one that stays with you the longest. Both young men were not out causing trouble. They weren't involved in some big planned confrontation. They were doing what everyone does at that hour, trying to get home. That's what makes this story feel so close, almost uncomfortably familiar. It could have been anyone. Ryan Weir Gibbons was heading through Kildare on a routine early morning bus. Just a seat, a window, the usual tired silence. Nothing unusual. Nothing that hinted at danger. And the 18-year-old teenager, also just traveling. Just another person trying to finish the night, get off the bus, and go back to normal life. But then a shift happens. A conversation turns tense. A tone changes. Something small, something quick, something that takes seconds but carries consequences far beyond that moment. The kind of spark people usually forget about the next day, except this one didn't go away. It didn't fade. It didn't settle itself. Two young men end up standing on opposite sides of the same event. One loses his life. The other now stands in the middle of a legal process that will follow him no matter what the final verdict becomes. Two families wake up to a reality they never prepared for. Friends find themselves repeating words like "what happened" and "how did it go this far?" And Kildare town suddenly feels heavier, quieter, a little more on edge. But here's the part that really lingers, the detail that feels almost cinematic in a strange, uncomfortable way. While everything shifted inside that bus, while voices were raised, while everything spiraled, while passengers froze in shock, the bus itself kept going. It stayed on the route. It passed street after street, still moving forward through the quiet Irish morning as if nothing had changed. Outside, lights flickered by. Shops remained closed. Roads stayed empty. And the engine kept humming its steady, indifferent rhythm. That contrast hits hard. Inside the bus, lives were being altered forever. Outside, the world looked exactly the same. No dramatic lightning strike, no sudden storm. Just an ordinary Irish dawn creeping in, completely unaware of what had just happened. It's a quiet reminder that life doesn't stop to match our moments. It doesn't freeze for us, even when everything else feels like it should. It keeps moving, bus routes, streetlights, mornings, all of it continues while people inside that moment try to make sense of something that can never be undone. And that's why this case resonates so deeply. It's not just about the confrontation. It's about how quickly normal can disappear, how fragile the everyday routine actually is. How a small, heated exchange, the kind everyone has had at some point, can tip into something irreversible before anyone fully understands what's happening. One young man gone, another facing a future shaped by a single moment. Families left with questions and heartbreak. A community left with silence and shock. And the bus rolled on. Because that's what life does. It keeps going even when you wish it wouldn't. Stay safe. Take a deep breath. And remember, sometimes the most ordinary moments carry the biggest consequences.